Today, we're breaking down Thibaut Maurice's book, Dopamine Detox. If you've ever felt like your focus is just gone, pulled in a million directions at once, well, this one's for you. Let's dive right in.
So let's just start with a question straight from the book. Does this sound familiar to you? You know exactly what you should be doing, that one big important task, but instead you find a million other little things to do. If that's you, you're not alone. And it turns out it's not just you. There's a powerful chemical reason for all of this.
So what is that reason? Well, we tend to blame ourselves, right? We think, oh, I'm just lazy, or I'm not disciplined enough. But the book argues that the real root of the problem, it's not a character flaw, it's actually a chemical process happening inside our own brains.
And that chemical? It's dopamine. Now, we've all heard it called the pleasure molecule, but that's a huge misconception. The book makes it super clear it's actually the anticipation molecule. Think of it like this. It's the thing that made our ancestors get up and hunt. It's the force that makes us act because we're expecting some kind of reward. It's your brain's go-get-it signal.
But here's the modern problem. Our world today is basically a minefield of these little dopamine triggers. But here's the catch. Once we get that reward, the like, the notification, the next video, the feeling's kind of hollow, right? And that creates this awful vicious cycle. We start seeking more and more stimulation, which just raises our tolerance. And suddenly, those genuinely important tasks, like writing a report or studying for a test, feel almost impossible to even start. They're just too boring.
Okay, but it gets even more serious. This isn't just you fighting against your own brain. The book makes it really clear that our lack of focus isn't entirely our fault. There are these huge external systems out there that are literally designed to hijack this very process for their own profit. The author has a great name for it. Dopamine is the molecule of more. The more our environment triggers it, the more we want that next hit. It's this self-reinforcing loop, and honestly, it's the exact same mechanism that fuels a lot of addictions, from gambling to just endlessly scrolling through social media.
So, who are these hijackers? Well, they're pretty much everywhere. That little red notification bubble, that is specifically designed to make you anticipate a social reward. YouTube's algorithm, it knows you better than you know yourself, and it knows exactly what to suggest next to keep you hooked. And it's not just tech. Even processed foods, packed with sugar, are engineered to make us crave more and more. These systems are masters at keeping our brains in that anticipation loop.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This isn't some conspiracy theory. A former top executive at Facebook, Chamath Palihapitiya, he admitted it himself. He said these apps are designed to wire your brain for super fast feedback. You get that instant like, that instant comment, and pretty soon your brain starts expecting that immediate gratification from everything else in your life. And this is the real danger, right? It traps us in this constant short-term thinking. We end up trading the deep, long-term satisfaction of, say, building a real skill or finishing a huge project for the cheap, instant hit of a notification. The book uses this fantastic example, Amazon. It was founded way back in 1994, but it didn't have its first profitable year until 2003. That's 9 years. That's the power of long-term thinking, and it's the very thing our overstimulated brains are losing the ability to do.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's a bit grim, right? Our brains are being hijacked, focus feels impossible. But, and this is a big but, we are not helpless here. The book lays out a really powerful strategy to fight back and take back control, and it's called the Dopamine Detox.
So what does that actually mean? A dopamine detox isn't about getting rid of dopamine. That's impossible, and you wouldn't want to anyway. It's about intentionally cutting back on all that external noise, all that stimulation. The whole point is to lower your baseline so your brain can reset to its natural, focused state. And this is where the magic happens. When your brain isn't constantly screaming for high-stimulation activities, those difficult or, boring tasks suddenly seem a lot more doable. It's not that the task gets easier, but the mental barrier to starting it gets so much smaller. All right, that all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? Let's break down the book's super practical 3-step plan that you can literally start using today. It really is this simple. First, you've got to identify your personal kryptonite. What are your biggest distractions? Step 2, make it harder to do the things you don't want to do. We'll call this adding friction. And step 3, and this is crucial, is all about timing. Start your day on your terms, before the world gets a chance to hijack your brain. So this idea of friction is the absolute key. You're not just relying on willpower, which we all know fails. You're literally making your bad habits inconvenient. So if you're always on your phone, don't just put it on silent, put it in a completely different room. The author shares this amazing personal story. To stop himself from mindlessly surfing the internet, he would unplug his modem and hide it in a storage room that required an elevator ride and going through 4 locked doors to get to. Now that is some serious friction. And you know what? It works.
Okay, so a detox is a fantastic reset button, but the real win is turning this into a long-term habit. So let's talk about how to keep this newfound focus going for the long haul. And this brings us to a really critical strategy, knowing the difference between open and closed systems. An open system, like your email inbox or a social media feed, is just a never-ending whirlpool of distraction. There's no end. A closed system, though, like a blank Word document or a journal page, has a clear goal and a finish line. So, the secret to a productive day? It's so simple. Start your day in a closed system. Write that first paragraph before you open the floodgates of your email.
So, to counteract that constant pull of dopamine, the molecule of more, the book suggests we need to cultivate what it calls here and now neurotransmitters. Basically, these come from any activity that grounds you in the present moment. Things like meditation, stretching, even just going for a walk and actually paying attention to what's around you. Deep conversations with people work too. My personal favorite on this list? Practicing boredom. Seriously, just sitting and doing absolutely nothing is an incredibly powerful way to reset your brain's stimulation levels.
And really, that's what this all boils down to. This book is a guide to taking back the controls. By consciously dialing down all that overstimulation, you're not just getting more done. You're literally retraining your brain, making it not just possible, but maybe even appealing to do the deep, meaningful work that actually matters to you. So let's end with this final question from the book because it really puts things in perspective. Every single day you make a choice. You can either control your own focus or you can let someone else, some algorithm, some app, control it for you. The battle for your attention is happening right now, whether you realize it or not. The only question is, which will you choose?